It's time for the 8 o'clock hour, the Wednesday 8 o'clock hour, and I have a special guest in, Mr. Bill Adams. How are you, buddy?
Doing great, Jeff. How are you this morning?
Thank you so much for coming in with me this morning. I know it was a short notice. You and I just talked last night. You've been on a little trip or something.
We do. We have annual motor coach meetings around the country, and so much fun seeing other operators around the country.
I didn't know I didn't know you were out of town, and I called because I thought, it would be fun to have you on here and talk a little while. And I know I've sprung this on you totally cold and everything, and you're wondering what we're going to do. I've been talking about that this morning.
Great.
I've been talking about how, and I don't know, you've been privy to some. You're one of our regular listeners. I know you and Jimmy Ann are, and of course the transition that we're making here at the radio station, the eight to 9 hour has become the local hour, and so I've been given the Wednesday morning 8 to 9, and to do with it kind of what I want to, and see what happens. And so I've been thinking, well, what would I do with it? And what's interesting to me is people.
Sure.
I like learning about people, and we can take phone calls and all that kind of stuff and all that kind of thing. We can talk about anything and everything, but it hit me this morning about, do you remember the old Ralph Emery show?
I love it.
And where he would have guests on and they would just talk about, whatever, but he would usually kind of dig into the background of who he was talking to and find out a little bit about them. So as I put my brain on that, I thought about just people around the community that we know, but we may want to know more about. And you and I have been friends and have known each other since high school. But now you and your family, you came to Lawrenceburg and Lawrence County when you were in high school, I think. Or
high school freshman.
High school freshman. So that's kind of wanted to ask you about. What was it like? For your beginning, let me turn that off. My phone's ringing. In the beginning, I guess, of your life wasn't here in Lawrence County.
Right.
So tell me about life before Lawrence County.
Lawrence County.
I only know you from here.
Yeah. North Louisiana, and Dad, Jerry Adams, was high school teacher, football coach. That's what he did for a career. Yes,
and for those of you who know or don't know, Coach Adams, Bill Adams' dad was Jerry Adams, and of course we all knew him as Coach. But I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope, knew him as Coach until he passed. So,
that's right.
People don't know Jerry, but they know Coach. So he announced to us that we were moving to Lawrence County, Tennessee. Took a position at Lawrence County High School. That was in 73, 74, along in there. And we had never been anywhere to the north.
Now, what part of Louisiana were you?
North Louisiana. We were from Shreveport, all across the northern part of Louisiana, raised in Shreveport, which is just a few miles from Texas. And then, of course, I was born at Ruston, Louisiana, north central of the state. And then we have family in Monroe, Louisiana, which is over toward the east.
So you grew up there to be a teenager.
Yep.
What was life like in North Louisiana?
A lot of sports. That was the main focus, and horseback riding, and just growing, and ball, and things were good. Coach announced we were headed north.
Okay.
And I remember coming up the Natchez Trace and began to see cedar trees. And I remember making the statement to Coach. I said, "Daddy, I don't know if we can live with these Yankees." So that was, we didn't know anything about.
That's good.
We didn't know anything about people outside of the state of Louisiana. So
anybody north of Louisiana was a Yankee, pretty much.
Yeah, huh? we just didn't know what was going on. One of the best moves we've ever made. In Lawrence County's home.
Well, you guys have certainly been a huge part of the community here. And of course, Coach came on board at Lawrence County High School and was a much loved coach for many years, even after he wasn't coaching anymore. The guys that he had an influence on are all of my friends and people that I know, and I spent a lot of hours talking with your dad, a lot of mornings at his little shop over there. Miss him. And even my son, I took him just to meet and talk with
Daniel.
Coach. Daniel got to be a part of that because he was a special guy.
Special,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was a
And
special
but
guy.
he instilled a lot of good character in a lot of young men and young ladies. So it carries on.
Yeah.
It carries on.
So it was you, your mom and dad, and your sisters.
Sisters, three sisters,
Yeah.
all graduated from Lawrence County High School. Everybody's has moved away, then now moved back. We've got Mary, the middle sister, is in North Alabama.
Yep.
And so we're close, close knit family, close knit to our community. So, you know,
I spent 1 year in band,
band.
At high school, and your sister Mary was in the band at the
Yes.
time I was.
Yes.
And she was a cut-up character.
Yes.
And we were having one more good time on the bus on the way back from a ball game somewhere. And the whole everybody in the bus was singing and clapping and singing and clapping, and somehow Mary was completely upside down with her feet on the ceiling of the bus dancing.
Well, okay.
I don't know how it was happening,
Okay.
but it was happening.
Okay.
And I never will forget, the bus driver finally had enough and just blew his top on us. He stopped the bus and just went crazy on us. And of course, we come back down for a little while.
Yeah.
But we were having a big time. That was just a side story because, of course, I knew you and all your sisters.
Right.
Yeah. So it's been a good deal.
Yeah.
So you finally landed in Lawrenceburg. And I guess my first memories of you were playing football.
Played ball and loved it, and you know, that was kind of my deal.
Yeah.
And so we had some good years, good friends, good athletes in Lawrence County.
Yeah.
And
You were built like you were built like a fire plug, and you were full back, running back, and and quite good at it, as I remember.
I wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
But
now, was Rick Lanning quarterback during the time?
Ricky Lanning, good dear friend of mine. We graduated together, and but very successful in our community, Ricky. And but Ricky was quite an athlete, and still is. He's playing a lot of tennis.
Yeah, I know. He's playing some tennis.
Yeah. So
has he got you in on that yet?
Good buddy. No, I'm not built like a tennis player. So
well, I'm not either. But now I used to play. I used to play quite a bit with some of those guys that he's playing with now. But I quit and I should have stuck with it. But I used to play quite a bit. I enjoyed it. I never was great at it. It was great exercise, no doubt about it. But he's really gotten into it. Well, so you played football, graduated high school, and then what happened to you? Because now right after high school and all that, I probably lost track with you.
Ricky Lanning and I took off to Louisiana to play college football.
Yeah. And
down there went to Northwestern State University and stayed a short time there. Ricky came home, I came home. Shortly after that, North Alabama for both of us. And then UNA,
okay,
North Alabama.
Yeah.
And then met my wife, Jimmy Ann, during those times.
The UNA years.
UNA years.
Okay.
And then by 1978, Coach had opened the business, Rent Right Incorporated, out on Buffalo Road.
Okay.
So something that he had a dream and he wanted to do that, and so I was a part of that and still going to school.
Okay.
So there was some busy years.
He kept you busy, didn't he?
He needed to, and so there was a little road time.
Yeah.
Long distance romance to Muscle Shoals, Alabama. So
yeah, you had done Leland Flove, had you not?
Yeah. Yeah. So those were good years, and but
so you met Miss Jimmy Ann. Now, what her background is? Was she in the North Alabama area, raised up there? Or?
Oh yeah, she's Muscle Shoals girl.
Okay.
And there's stories about how we met, but rumors. And she saw me, I saw her at different places, and
right.
And so really met in the business office, administration office at UNA. So
okay.
That's how we officially met.
Oh, okay.
So we met there, and then of course later married, and Rent Right days, and here we go.
Well, Well, that's good. That's interesting because for someone to come from, so I don't know what that's like to just move to a whole new community. I deal with people all the time who are doing that, but you and your family moved to a whole new area from where you grew up.
Yep.
And just took on being a part of our community, Lawrenceburg and Lawrence County. And what is that like? I mean, from a teenage perspective, going to a new high school, that kind of thing. You fit in well. You done good. But what was it like emotionally? I guess would be a good thing.
Oh,
not to get too personal.
As a 15-year-old.
I was going to say, 15-year-old. That's a big deal.
It's tough, and I think I was really fortunate because of some of the friends that embraced me early, and that made it easier.
Yeah.
And you were one of them, and some of the others around. I think athletics helps. I think band, socializing helps. I see that a lot from, we call them move-ins at the store, folks coming in from California and Michigan. And when they're embraced, getting involved with church groups or civic groups or whatever, I think it really helps. But mom and dad, mom and coach were always outsiders in the community. But us kids we felt like we were always accepted. We were one of Lawrence County.
Y'all were lumped in with a bunch of us pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that I think culturally, I don't think it's near as bad as it was in those days because we have so many people and great people moving into this area.
We really do.
Yeah.
People don't realize just how many people are coming to this area, but they are in a big way. Of course, you see it in your business. I see it especially in mine. But I was born and raised here. I don't know living anywhere else is just totally foreign to me. So I've not had that experience of uprooting and going somewhere else. That's a whole different thing. Been fortunate in that to born and raised and lived here and not had to live anywhere else, or had the privilege of living anywhere else, if you want to put it that way, however it is. But that's interesting. So you mentioned getting blended in and folded in with the community. I think your mom and dad and coach and you and your family, y'all did well at that by getting involved in the sports and this and the other. What about church? What church life? What was church life like for you when you first came to Lawrenceburg?
Yeah, it was basically we tried to follow the same path, or we were taught the same path as we had in Louisiana. We came in as the Baptist faith.
Okay.
And First Baptist, and so there for many years, and then the story goes on after that for Jim Ann and I later on. But we folded in quick, and I think one of the fold-ins fitting in was being involved with Dad teaching school and Mother working in the doctor's office here in town.
Which doctor's office?
She worked for H.L. Thomas.
Dr. Thomas.
For years. And then when the store was open, of course, everybody was there. But I think that's a leg up when you have that inroad through education.
Okay. Awesome. Pretty awesome. Well, I've got to get to, how you kind of got started with your adult life. Of course, you met Jimmy Ann. Mm-hmm. When did y'all marry?
81. We had an anniversary yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, happy anniversary.
Well, thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
So she decided to keep you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
And I got Teresa and I, of course, we've known you guys, and Teresa's always thought it was neat that you call her Miss Adams.
Miss Adams. That's right. Yeah, I was taught that early.
We taught that early
by my father. So
your dad was he was an influential guy.
Very.
What did he teach? I'm backing up just a little bit, but what did he teach? I know he coached, but what did he teach at high school?
That was really interesting. His first year we moved at Christmas time of my freshman year, and he was assigned classes, and I had him for the first 3 classes of the day: history, science, and I believe it was economics. So I have no idea why he was even teaching any of those, and he didn't either.
But he did it.
He did a good job.
No.
Yeah.
So you were influenced by him in a big way, not only just as a father, but teaching and subjects and all that coaching. He beat you into shape.
Beat me into shape.
That's right. Well, let's see if someone wants to talk to us. I don't know. You can put your headphones on. Maybe you can hear what's going to happen. Let me get this phone up right here. Hey, good morning. You're on WDXE with us.
Days.
70 years, 9 months, and 6 days. Wow. And what is your name, hon? Irene Hooker.
Happy anniversary.
Well, oh, well, bless you, and thank you for calling and sharing that with us. Happy.
Mm.
Well, we're so thankful for you. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, hon. Bye bye. That's neat. Miss Hooker. How about that? How about that? Well, that's good. Good encouragement right there.
That's right.
You know, I told Teresa if she ever left me, I was going with her.
That's right. Yeah. I introduced Jimmy Ann as my first wife, and she really corrects me really quick. She says only.
Only.
Yeah.
Only wife. Well, she's a great lady. She it helps you at the business.
She does.
All
yeah.
that, and so
Yeah.
y'all been able to. That's something that Teresa and I probably could not do. Now I love her with all of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she does me for some unknown reason.
Mm-hmm.
But we could not work together.
Jimmy Ann held out for 29 years, and when I started buying buses, she thought she needed to be involved.
It's probably so.
Her name was on the notes.
Probably so.
So it works well.
Probably. I don't think we could work together, but not to say that I guess I absolutely couldn't. We probably could if we needed to, because we've always done whatever we needed to. You know, kind of like you and Miss Jimmy. That's great. Good deal. So Bill Adams, you here, and of course you got your start, and of course your dad started Rent Right.
Rent Right.
And you had been to college. You'd been played football. You've been to UNA. Now you've met Jimmy Ann, and your dad says, "Hey, let's start a business."
Yeah, he did.
So what happened?
We loaded up and went to Athens, Tennessee. Somewhere along the way, he had been in a rental store in Louisiana, and Coach had always wanted a family-owned business, and he loved to tinker. He loved equipment, and he announced one day we're going to open a rental equipment store. So we rented a building.
I don't know that there was one here at that time.
No, there was not.
There was not one.
There was not, and there was some people dabbing in it, renting out the back door and things. But we rented a building from Perry Brothers Tractor, Roy and J.B. Perry, over on Buffalo Road.
Okay.
And where we are now.
Yeah.
So J.B. and Roy had built a new facility, and we rented that thing, and we got started. And so
was that in my early childhood memories? Somewhere in that little neck of the woods right there was the pepper plant.
Right, it's right next door to our.
Was that next door or the
facility.
same place?
Next door.
It was next door.
Yep, you've got the Perry Brothers building. That's where Rent Right is now. Next to it is the old pepper plant building. And that's where you can really date people. If they remember the pepper plant.
Remember the pepper plant, yeah.
It's kind of like Cyclone Corner. People don't know Cyclone Corner anymore.
Yeah.
Or Frosty.
Some of us know the Cyclone
we know.
Corner.
So then you got Berry Hills hamburger joint right on the corner.
Yeah.
And anyway, in the late 80s, we bought the old pepper plant facility from the Campbells. And my memory of as a kid is seeing all the Amish wagons bringing the pimento peppers
to
be washed and boxed up crated up, and they're shipped out to
Yeah.
a location in Alabama.
Good deal. Well, yeah, someone else wants to talk to us, maybe. Hey, good morning. How are you?
Yes, when you reel the whole point y'all called it a pepper plant, the one that was first built, it was called a strawberry plant.
Strawberry plant.
Oh, yeah.
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 There was strawberries before there was pepper here in Lawrence County, and that was actually opened up as a strawberry plant
Yeah.
when it first started in business.
That's right. I've got 2 questions for you.
Have a good day.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, hang on a second. Can you hold a minute? Oops.
I do have 2
He let me.
questions. If
He let
people
me.
remember, there's no date of when that building was built, erected, and also there was a dance hall in part of that
Oh, really?
pepper plant. And when we bought that old building, the crystal ball was still in it.
Oh,
and
no,
the
really?
stage was still in it. So if anybody has information about that, I would love to have some photos and memories of the old dance hall in that old pepper plant building.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know that I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the way, I might have heard that, but I don't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like I did remember people saying that was a strawberry.
Strawberry plant. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember it being that myself.
No, I don't either.
I do remember the pepper plant,
Mm-hmm.
and people used to go pick pepper.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
interesting deal.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, that's where Berry Hills originated. The way I understand it, we're in the 5th or 6th generation of Berry Hills now.
Really, the little hamburger
So
joint.
yes, and so they have carried on, and that was the.
Now, were they related to
snack shack.
Mr. Jack Berryhill and his store,
I
which was
think
down
so.
Buffalo Road?
Yeah, I believe so.
For so many years.
Yeah, I don't know the lineage on that.
How the connection is.
Yeah, but we've known all the owners, and
How about that?
So.
How about that? Of course, his grandson Brock.
Yeah.
I run into him a lot in
Yeah.
town. That's interesting. Very interesting. So we're getting started with Rent Right, and the business begins to take off, and all that kind of stuff. For how many years? When did you start that?
78.
78.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty long success streak,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and it's grown in leaps and bounds.
Yep.
And at some point, you became a dealer for lawnmowers.
Yep. Hustler mowers. Mm-hmm.
There were Hustler mowers, and that's still the main.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Still the main thing there. But I know you also to be a man of faith. You and Jimmy Ann.
Mm-hmm.
I know that your church and your church life's important to you. I know a little bit of your background in that. You and I went to church together briefly for a little bit at New Prospect. But things have evolved and changed and grown in that world, and that led to somehow, some way that led to the bus business. So I kind of wanted you to go back and rehearse how all that happened.
Wow. Yeah.
Because it's a very interesting story,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys have built a tremendous charter bus business
Mm-hmm.
right here in Lawrenceburg.
Mm-hmm.
But it had humble beginnings.
Humble.
I mean, humble beginnings. I know a little bit about that. So tell us about how that started.
We were hauling. I guess it started when the Lord saved me. That was in the early 2000s, and there was ministry on my mind, and which after the Lord saves you, He's going to call you to something.
Sure.
Might not necessarily be a pastor or preacher, but He's going to call you to serve.
Sure.
So we were running children up and down the road on in an old yellow school bus, and the little blonde heads in that. I looked in the rear view mirror, and the little blonde heads bouncing up and down in that old yeller school bus, and we were coming through Montgomery, Alabama. I looked at the bank clock. It was 106 degrees, and I told Jimmy Ann, I said, we're going to buy a bus, and we're going to haul kids. So basically, that's how it started, and then I started showing Jimmy Ann pictures. And she said, "Oh, you mean a bus?
You mean a bus?
Like a charter bus?
You mean a bus?
So that was that's kind of where it started, and the dream. And then we got into that. 6 months later, we had bought 2 more, and then it just
So it went fast. That's pretty fast, though.
Yeah, it really did.
I mean, you started out with a single bus, and then 6 months later, two more.
Two more, and then we still didn't know what we were doing, but we just, the Lord just puts people in your path.
Sure.
And it just began to grow, and it was humble. It was extremely humble. Anything worthwhile is going to be tough.
Yeah.
And so it's grown, and we still haul kids today, thousands of kids a year, a lot of senior adults, a lot of military, which is a treat for us, to camp and to airplanes and things, but a lot of athletics for universities. Yeah.
So start out with a school bus, and then deciding to get what we might call a charter bus or real bus.
A real bus.
So with one, how many buses is First Class running now?
We currently have 8.
8 buses.
COVID hit us hard.
That's going to ask you about that, because I remember, of course, you and I talking through this, and I, I knew when COVID hit, that was one of the industries that it hit the hardest.
It was
the travel industry.
Yeah.
Anything like that, and of course, you were neck deep in that. So surviving that was a challenge, I'm sure.
It was. It really tests your faith. It was a good time to grow through that, and we're thankful that I'm thankful we went through it. I know it was hard on people, but I'm glad where we are on this side. And the employees we have are fantastic. Driver pool right now is the best we've ever had. Dedicated, passionate people in the office, mechanics, and just really, really a blessing right now to be where we are.
That COVID, when it hit, it just and of course, hindsight, I guess, is 2020 and all that kind of stuff. We look back, and I think shutting down everything like we did was probably a mistake. I know that we all tried to make the best decisions we could during all that, and it affected us. People close to me passed because of it. It was I had it myself.
Yes.
Probably one of the first. I was probably one of the first in the county to be diagnosed positive with it. It didn't make me terribly sick, which I was thankful for, but others weren't that fortunate. It was a terrible time, and I know it was a super challenging time for a business and businesses in general, but especially those that were in the type of business that you were in.
Yeah, it was. It's tough. People business was tough, and I remember, I call it D-Day, March 13th. Of 2020, and we started receiving the phone calls of trip cancels, and we had buses in New York, Chicago, headed to Florida, and it was just, everybody was gone. All the buses were gone. And then we started getting those calls about hotels closing or Disney World closing, those type calls.
Wow.
And on one particular trip, we had 300 students. What do we do with 300 kids?
Oh my goodness!
With the hotels closed, so it was a lot of challenge. It's amazing how well people can work together when they have to.
When they have to, yeah.
So good came out of it. As tough as it was, but we feel like that the strong survived.
Sure.
There was 3,500 motor coach operators around the country in that day. Just like us, today it's around 1,500.
Really?
So
wow.
We felt like the better ones made it.
Well, yeah, the better, stronger, I guess, and better, stronger for it now.
Yep.
That you've got it. Well, I'll say this, and you I will say this: you keep a clean line. They look great.
Well, thank you.
The buses look awesome.
Yeah, the cleanup staff is fabulous, and the mechanic that we have is fabulous. They really do a good job at First Class Charter.
Yeah. Well, so Lawrenceburg and Lawrence County has been good to the Adams family.
Been great.
Great.
It's been fun.
And you guys have made a lot of friends along the way. I know that, and I count myself among those blessed to have known all of you. Your mom, your dad, your sisters, you, your wife, all of you have been great friends to me. And by the way, I mentioned your mom. How's she doing?
Mama's good.
Yeah.
She's 86,
86.
and still at home and growing flowers. And now she's a little slower than she was.
Aren't we all?
She doesn't race me to the mailbox anymore. But she's good.
Well,
Thank
good.
you.
Very good. Very good. Well, I wanted to get to another part of your life.
Okay.
You remember the show This Is Your Life?
Yeah.
So we're doing This Is Your Life, Bill Adams. How about that? No, we talked a little bit already about your faith, and how this is now, I know because I know you, pretty much the controlling factor of what we do. And of course, your faith has carried you to, you had another vision for a church and a church life that is a little off the beaten path. And you guys, you were a part of helping to start what is known now as the Thousand Hills Cowboy Church up in Etheridge. You and I have talked about that a few times, and then now you've got your folks and you have developed a second campus down in the south end of the county down there. And I think Coach might have been a part of that too. I don't remember, but I know that you were an integral part of that. So kind of tell me the backstory on how that happened.
Very interesting.
And how that came to be.
Yeah, very interesting. Pastor Nate Duncan, our lead pastors from Hornwall, Tennessee, he and his wife Ann. Really, Nate's a visionary, and you got to have visionaries.
Yeah,
so,
you do.
He praying through it and determined that there needed to be a cowboy church in Lawrence County, Tennessee.
Now, that's not a new concept. The cowboy church it goes back a ways.
It does. For several years, many years now, there's been a AFCC, American Fellowship Cowboy Churches.
Okay.
It's not a denomination.
Okay.
It's a fellowship of like-minded denominations that come together. It's based out of Texas.
Okay.
It's all cowboy focused. It's at your core vision is the Western life.
Yes.
And so that's where we call him Nate, Pastor Nate. That was his vision for Lawrence County to have that. And similarly, Nate had been involved with missions around the world, as Jim Ann and I have. And what I began to see, Jeff, was there's so much need right here at home in Lawrence County. That's not a cop-out that we don't need to travel and share the gospel around the world, but there's people in Lawrence County that need to hear the gospel.
I agree.
Less than 10% of the population of Lawrence County attend a church.
That's an interesting statistic.
Yes. All right.
And I don't think people realize.
No.
I don't think church-going people realize.
No,
that.
we don't. There's churches on every corner. A lot of people call this the church belt. It's really or call it the Bible belt. It's really the church belt.
Yeah.
And you've got churches on every corner, but people need to be reached with a gospel message. My days at New Prospect, that's where I learned some of this.
Yes.
Even the vision about Christ life came out of those days of learning.
Sure.
That New Prospect Baptist gave me the privilege of working on.
Sure.
In those days, Nathan was working on the concept of Cowboy Church for Lawrence County.
Okay.
The original days, in the early days, it started at the old stock barn. If you
Right,
remember,
I remember that.
to the north.
I remember
and Jim Ann and I came in several months after the startup. Nathan was actually a customer at Rent Right,
Okay.
building the performance feed plant over on 4th Street.
Okay.
Came in and we got to know each other, sharing our faith and church experiences, and he invited us to come. We had resigned at New Prospect. We went and we've never looked back. So it was just
But it started with the stock barn.
it started at the stock barn.
And that's where they met for
About a
quite
year
while.
and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
We actually met in the old paper plant. for
Oh,
6
really?
months.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an interesting
Now,
side
the old
note.
pepper plant is still there?
Still there. Yeah.
We'll get back to that in just a minute.
Okay.
Okay. But anyway, continuing the story with the Cowboy Church.
Cowboy Church, stock barn. We bought property out on Brewer Road. Some people call that Amish community.
It is.
At the Welcome Center. That's Brewer Road down through there.
Yes.
Interesting story there. There was 50-something acres. We couldn't afford but half of that for the land. I believe it was the Lord's providence. He sent somebody from Louisiana
Oh, really?
to buy investment property, so we bought it. And a year later, we started a building.
Yeah.
And so that was phenomenal how that happened too.
The original, I guess, core group that were meeting at the stock barn.
Mm-hmm.
How many people were attending at that point? Do you remember?
I remember 30 to 40.
30 to 40.
There was a good group, a support group came from Hornwall.
Yeah.
First Baptist Hornwall to help get it kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
Many of those are still there. Some of them have passed on now. It's been several years, but yeah.
Okay. Well, it's grown, and of course now your attendance is probably what?
We'll push 400 any Sunday, 350 to 425 depending on the week.
Yeah.
And then
That's significant.
yeah.
And back to what we were talking about earlier, just to mention that statistic again. Did you say 10%?
It's less than 10%.
Less than 10% of Lawrence Countyans attend church regularly.
Mm-hmm.
That's a for those of us who grew up going
Mm-hmm.
and never known anything else but going and think, and we pretty much think everybody goes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard one to swallow.
It is. Yep.
That's a hard one to swallow. But the reality is that we don't have near the church attendance that people think we do.
We don't. Yeah.
And it's reflected not only here but nationwide, and it's probably even worse nationwide. But our society has devolved
Mm-hmm.
in a big way because I think of the lack of church influence, biblical teaching influence, that kind of thing. So it's needed. It's needed, and I guess that's why the Lord has blessed it and grown it like it has with you and others.
Yeah. And many, several churches around, they're doing very well.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
when your leadership and your people are passionate about serving the Lord and each other, that's a given.
Yeah.
We follow the rules. If the Bible says you're gonna be good, you're gonna be successful.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have a lot of good churches making a lot of good efforts. But I do think sometimes we focus our efforts outside of the community more so than inside the community. And maybe our focus needs to be a little more inward sometimes than it is. And that's not a criticism. No. I'm just saying that we need to open our eyes a little bit.
Yeah, there's a balance.
Yeah. Let's see who's on the phone here. Hey, good morning. How are you? Yes.
Hey, Miss Kobeck. Yeah.
2 Christmases, I know maybe more than that, but 2 Christmases, she had all the cafeteria workers over for Christmas dinner.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's great.
And they just been good friends about me forever.
Well, I know that they think a lot of you, and we do too.
I think a lot of them.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
He's so blessed to have a mom and dad who's lay off.
Yes, ma'am, I am. Thank you.
You are right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I just want to hear the number.
Very good. Thank you, hon. Yes, that's Miss Kobeck, of course. A
Yeah.
sweet lady and a good mama too.
Dad gave me instructions as a young man. He said, you need to be really good to the cafeteria workers.
Yes, indeed.
So it helps your figure, right?
That's right. Pardon me. Had to hit the cough button there. I better get a drink, I guess. Well, that's awesome that she called to share that. That's a good memory, a good thing. Our cafeteria workers, I was always, I think, best I remember, I was always polite to our cafeteria. But of course, some of that comes with good teaching from your mom and dad.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And we could get off on that on a whole other subject, I guess, as to, we see disrespectful children, but it's not, it's because they haven't been taught.
A lot of it is.
It's because they haven't been taught, We could go off in a whole different direction there, I guess.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, you and I think are like-minded in that regard. I wanted to get back to the old pepper shop building, which is still a facility there at the Rent Right complex.
Yep.
It's the Rent Right and First Class Charter complex now.
There you go.
I guess is the best way to put it. But I spent several mornings with your dad over there, having coffee, along with a few other guys that would come and go.
Yep.
And
some characters.
That's one of the reasons. That's one of the things that I had hoped and envisioned about bringing to the radio format, which will probably never work completely the same. It's not. But we used to have morning coffee discussions in there that was so great about anything and everything. It could be something in the community. It could be something in history. It could be something in politics or in the news. It could be anything.
It was a wide variety, Jeff.
It
was Democrats and Republicans.
Democrats, Republicans.
It was Baptists and Catholics.
Baptist, Catholics.
And then sometimes it was knockdown dragouts.
Knockdown dragouts. It was fun though. It was
so
absolute
fun.
Blast.
Yeah, and that's that was so special, and it still is. Matter of fact, Coach's old office is part of that old pepper plant.
Yes,
facility.
That's where his office was.
So it's good, and that's I'm just so fortunate to have so many friends from different walks of life, and just one thing was always came out of that old office was isn't it fabulous when you walk away and no lies are told. And that was
no lies are told.
That was some wisdom that came from
those
days.
And if one was told, everybody knew it.
Oh, it was corrected.
You didn't get away with it.
No,
you didn't get away with it. You might could embellish a little, maybe, but you wouldn't get away with it very long.
not long.
That was good. That was good. Well, I learned a lot myself from not only that group but others. I've mentioned this before. The old bus station had a morning coffee group.
Yep.
That I was privileged to be a part of. They let me in.
They let you in.
They let me in when I was a young man. It was old Bud Abbott, and back then it was Chuck Brewer too. Chuck Brewer was way back. Some you may remember him. Jim White and Ben Purnell. Some of them, and I'm going to miss some. But some I knew they were in there, and I walked up one morning just cold, and I asked them if this was a private meeting or could anybody come in. And by gosh, they let me in.
I think Mickey Evers would show up every now and then.
Mickey Evers, I forgot about Mickey. Well, I didn't forget him. I just mentioned Mickey was. Now he was an instigator. Now he would poke and prod pretty good, but it was a good mix of folks. And if you wanted to know anything that moved in the county, they pretty much knew.
Yes, sir.
About it, and it was very similar, I guess, with your dad over there, and a group of guys that met over there. In fact, Mike Evers, who we miss now,
we do,
was one of them that visited there with Coach and us, and it was always a good, interesting conversation with him, and he didn't pull no punches either.
No.
That was good. So I don't know if we could recreate that. You can't.
I don't know.
You can't recreate it. But
we may try.
But we might try.
Yeah.
You may try. It is 8:50. We've got Bill Adams here, and of course we will take your phone calls. 766-9393. We've had a couple of calls already from some folks that knew us and know you and knew some of your family or knew your family. It's been good. You've got a busy life, which is good.
Yep.
I feel like I do too. I like being busy. But do you ever get too busy? Is it ever to you like overwhelming and you go, man, I got to What's the balance? How do you balance out all the irons in the fire?
Well, the one thing that I try to do, I've learned to do,
Yeah.
is just have good people around you.
Yeah.
And we're so fortunate to have really good folks working in both companies.
Yeah.
Even in our church office, with our staff at Thousand Hills, fabulous people that you surround yourself with.
That makes a lot of
good
difference
balance.
to have some good help. Hey, good morning.
Good morning, brother. How you doing?
Hey, Danny, how are you, bud?
I'm doing well, man. Hey, I just got a little comment to make about your radio show.
Yeah.
I really love it. Because you just have down to earth people on there, like you got Bill on there today and talk about God and stuff. And it's just, I think it's so great. But I love the guests you have on there. I just want to make a few comments. Just I really enjoy your show. You've done a great job because you ain't got all this little trash and stuff on there. So I love it, man. Y'all have a blessed day.
Well, Dan,
Bill.
Thank you, Danny.
thank you, Danny. But I appreciate that. That's awesome. Get a little encouragement. That's good because the transition to do this hasn't been easy for everybody. Some folks, miss the old stuff that we've always had. But the truth of the matter is, Bill, business is business, and the poor radio station here hasn't made any money in a long time. So they've got to do something to keep the station alive.
Right.
And so we're going to do the best we can and try to keep it entertaining and try to keep something that people will enjoy.
Sure.
And of course, we need the station to survive.
Sure.
And that's what we're doing. Kind of like you when you had to go through COVID and all that. Well, you got to do what you got to do.
Do what you
You
got to do.
do what you got to do.
I had the statement this morning. We were talking in our staff meeting about the term "make do."
Make do.
Make do. And
I
I
love
wonder how many
terms.
people have ever heard that statement from their parents or said it themselves. We're gonna make do.
My grandmother, my mama, as I called her, I think she used that a lot. We just had to make do.
Make do.
Just had to make do.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. Hey, good morning. How are you? Oh,
I appreciate that.
Lanny, thank you, buddy. All right, buddy.
All right. Thank you, Laney. He would be an interesting one to have on, Jeff.
I've already thought of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can talk him into it.
You could.
But he's on my list.
Yeah.
Lanny would be a good one to have. If we have to have company while we do it, I'll drag you in here with me.
Okay.
And we'll have all three of us in here. That would be an awesome thing. He actually is on my list. And I need you to help me make a new, keep that list going. Because I do think that this would be, in my mind, this is going to be a good thing to do, to have people from around the community that people know, but maybe they need to know a little more about.
Yep.
I'm looking for folks that will come in and be with me on Wednesday mornings and have a good conversation.
Great.
That's what I would like to do. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And man, I thank you. You have just been well. I knew that you would do it, and I knew that if you could, you would do it. I just didn't know I'd get you as quick as I did because it was a short notice. We just talked last night, and you were coming back, so it's been good. Let's get another phone call. Hey, good morning. How are you?
Yes, the old pepper plant.
Yes.
Band room back in there. Gerald Yeager used to have a band here in town. He used to play back there about 50 years ago.
Gerald Yeager had a band that played in there.
You got any pictures? You got any old photos?
Do you know of any pictures that exist of that or anything like that? How about that?
That's fabulous.
How about that? Well, awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Y'all keep up what you're doing. I enjoyed this morning. I enjoyed this new changeover y'all doing. Just keep it up. God bless y'all.
God bless,
Hey,
buddy.
God bless you. Thank you, buddy. Good deal. Well, that was encouraging. 8:55. We still got a couple of minutes here. And the phone number, 766-9393 is the number. And Bill, you are in business here. Rent Right over there has been a great part of the community since 78.
78.
And I'll as a thank you for doing this morning, we might as well plug your business a little bit because I didn't want to make it a commercial. I wanted to make it about you and your family and how it all came to be. But you got a great business over there, good products, and a lot of good folks to help you over there if you need anything over there. And of course, the charter bus business is not necessarily a Lawrence County business. It's an eastern side of the nation business or nationwide business.
It's regional. We pick up all the way to Memphis, Chattanooga, north and south, all the way down to Birmingham.
That's awesome.
So it's become a national type travel. It's not. We got buses in D.C. today. I've got buses in Maine. Had one coming out of Ontario, Canada, just a couple of days ago.
That's pretty awesome.
So it's
you are connected to the world.
Yeah,
the United States all over.
Yeah, my French isn't real good at Quebec City.
It's hard to get a bus to cross the ocean.
Yeah.
As long as you can drive it, you'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, I'll tell you a real quick first class charter bus story that I was involved in.
Okay.
And I don't know if you were driving or not. I think you were. Y'all picked me up at the Galleria parking lot on the way to the Christmas lights one year. And my family were already on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And because I worked up in Franklin at the time, y'all were picking me up there. And my daughter texted me, and this is when I was just getting good at texting. And it said, "Run Galleria." But I looked at it and I thought, "Run Gorilla." I said, "Run Gorilla? What's Run Gorilla?" Well, I called her. I said, "What is Run Gorilla?" Well, she couldn't stop laughing. She could not stop laughing to tell me that she was trying to say R-U-N Galleria.
Oh.
R-U-N Galleria,
Right.
the mall. And I said, "Run Gorilla? What is Run Gorilla?" Anyway, they laughed at me. I got on the bus and they laughed at me. The whole bunch in the bus laughed at me. So we had, and trust me, I made the most of it.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
The only other time I think I rode on one of your buses was we went up and watched the Titans practice.
Wasn't that fun?
You just wanted this. You did a deal just to have some fun, and we took off up there and watched the Titans practice facility one time, just for the heck of it.
So fun.
That was a lot of fun. We got to do something else.
Okay.
Let's do it again sometime. All right. Well, Mr. Bill Adams, the rent right address over there on Buffalo Road is what?
721 Buffalo Road.
If you don't know where rent right is, you ain't from here.
RentRideEquipment.com. That's the way you find us. Yeah.
There you go. First class charter, Bill Adams. Miss Jimmy Ann, by the way, she's a sweet, sweet lady.
She is.
And she keeps the fort running over there when she has to and all that kind of stuff.
She does. Does a fabulous job.
And tell her that we said, hey, and let's get together soon.
Let's do it, man.
All right. Well, hang around just a minute. I'm going to have to clock us out of here and get the other stuff queued up like we're supposed to. Got to get back to regular programming. It's fixing to be 9 o'clock. And let me get this switched around over here. We appreciate Mr. Bill Adams coming out and being with us. And we're going to, I should have looked this up already. I should have got this ready already, I should say. All right, right here. That's not it. When this clock goes over, it may switch all automatically. We'll see. At 8:59, 9 o'clock. Is it queued up? Is it going to work? This is what's good about live stuff, just making sure it does what it's supposed to do. See if this is going to work. Nope. There you go. All right. Thanks, Bill. God bless, buddy.
God bless.
Guest services of Prospect Communications.
Later, former Vice President Mike Pence will start his White House run.
He already has national household name recognition, but he's also got a rocky, if not bitter, relationship with former President